This conference will now be recorded.
And under the options tab at the very mid of your screen, there'd be a drop down, and you can share your sound through the GoToMeeting beta.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, but I have the impression that my computer is blocking me from being able to share it.
Uh-oh.
This is a D&D computer, so I think it blocks us from sharing a screen. I just realized.
Is this the same video that you sent us earlier in the link by any chance?
So it's the yeah, exactly. So it's the spring 2016 Snowbird video on YouTube. But so if you can, it would be nice if you could share it for everyone to see.
I say I think I've got it on, still got it on my screen over here. So 1 second here. Just got to dig it out again. One momento. All right, let's have a look here. There is, where's the link? There it is. Doing.
So the video is from 2016, but it's really still very relevant to our opening.
Yeah, baby. Slow now. Split now. Souls split now. Souls right in the minutes. Oh, yep. Snowbirds split now. Souls roll now. Scum now. Got it.
Cool.
Go.
So I'll be passing you along to my colleague, Captain Patrice Powers-Clement, that will be doing a presentation today and answering all your questions.
Hi there, how's it going?
Not bad. Yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. Down in California, it's pretty sweet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Working on the tan, right?
yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you for taking the time this evening to join us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for getting everybody out. Looks like there's a lot of people that tuned in, so that's good to see.
Yeah, yeah, I got 45 online so far. So
Awesome. That's good to hear.
great. Well, I guess I'm gonna do my introduction here. So let me pull my little cheat sheet up here because I don't want thing do memory stuff. Here we go. So everyone, tonight's guest speaker is Captain. Now, forgive me. How do you pronounce your last name?
Powis Clement.
Powis Clement. Okay. So tonight's guest is Captain Patrice Powis Clement. Captain Patrice Powis Clement was raised on St. Joseph Island, Ontario, where he developed a passion for flying at a young age. After completing Air Cadets, he enrolled in the Sault College Aviation Technology program, where he obtained a commercial pilot license with multi-endorsed instrument rating. After graduating in 2011, Patrice joined the Canadian Armed Forces under the Regular Officer Training Plan. He attended the Royal Military College of Canada and graduated in 2015 with a bachelor's degree in business administration. After arriving at Canadian Forces Base Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Patrice completed flight training on the CT-156 Harvard II and the CT-155 Hawk. He was then posted to the 2nd Canadian Forces Flight Training School as an instructor on the Harvard II, where he became a senior instructor training new instructors on the Harvard II. Captain Patrice Powis Clement joined the Canadian Forces Snowbirds in 2020 and brings over 1,800 hours of flying experience in ejection seat aircraft to the team. He currently flies the number 4 jet in the first line astern position. Over to you.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, everybody, thanks for having me. You did a good job reading my bio. As it said, I was in Air Cadets for probably most of my youth, I'd say, and it's such a good program to be in. Now I can see your Army. Is the entire group here that I'm talking to Army cadets, or
No, just happened to be
no?
the. Yeah, I'm an Army guy looking after an Air Cadet unit. So.
Okay, yeah, no problem. You gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, the whole program for me as a young person in high school was extremely valuable and very rewarding. You learn very military basics, but not only are you doing that, but you're also learning just sort of basic life skills and interpersonal skills that you can use moving forward. And it's such a good program, not only for those that are interested in aviation, but all the other aspects that you guys obviously know that cadets offer. For me, I was centered around aviation. Did my my glider pilot license, my private license, and then on my very final summer, I instructed glider flying, which was extremely rewarding. And then after that, when I did enroll in the military, I used that background that I had in cadets to one summer, I think it was 2013. I got the privilege to go back to Mountain View and fly the tow plane for them for a bit. So throughout my my early life, cadets was huge in basically getting me to where I am right now. And I know that a lot of you guys are enjoying it, but there's some days where it's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to keep on doing this. And you just got to stick it out, because there's really nothing bad that'll come from it. And by sticking it out and just moving forward with everything that you're doing, it sort of teaches you that resilience and dedication to see something through to the end. And that I've been finding, especially now being on the Snowbirds, which I've only been on for a year. This is my first year. I hope that there's many more to come. But really, what gets you through it is work ethic. There's a lot of new things that are thrown to you very early on, and it's very daunting. And you think to yourself, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this." But yeah, that dedication and hard work is what gets you through it, and that what makes you a valuable team member. And everybody on the team is amazing and very hardworking. So yeah, I'm also glad to hear that I'm talking to Air Cadet Squadron from London. I hope you guys got a chance to go out and see the show. We had a lot of fun down there. Yeah, that's right. We had a lot of fun down there. Seeing all the military assets that were down there, American and Canadian as well too, was great to see. And your community does a very, very good job, not only putting on a good show, but with COVID and everything, did a very good job of making it all COVID compliant with the drive-in setup. And it was really good to see that that it all came together. Yeah, it's about all that I have right now. I'm open to questions. Anything that you guys can think of that you want to ask me, as obscure as it might be, just yeah, fire away.
What I'll do is I'll open up my chat box over here, and then I'll throw it out to the floor and say, okay, guys, if you got any questions you want to ask him, okay, put them in the chat box, and then I will try and distribute them evenly across the board and see, you know, take out any duplications. But just type in some questions there for him so we can ask questions. It could be anything from what's it like in the military to what's it like flying as a pilot. Yeah, training, everything. Oh, okay. First question we got was from Air Cadet K Bowering, which says, I have missed this, but what inspires you to join the Snowbirds?
So early on in my my military flying career, doing basic flight training, you're trained on all aspects of military flying. So there's the very basic stuff, just flying around VFR, doing instrument flying. Not only that, but navigation as well, low-level navigation, and of course formation flying. And formation flying is something that nobody on the civilian side really gets to experience early on, or it's more rare that somebody flies in formation. So I remember doing it for the first time, and you know, I was thinking, wow, this is extremely challenging, but also very exciting at the same time. And the further that I went along in flight training, you know, I'd always think about where I wanted to go after this. And of course, seeing the Snowbirds fly from a young age, you always think, wow, this is super cool and must be awesome to do that job. But you never really think that you could be in a position to do it someday. And then the more that I flew on the military side, I felt like, wow, maybe I could with some hard work be able to do what the Snowbirds do. So I instructed in Moose Jaw for just over 3 years, and during that time I did a lot of formation flying on the Harvard 2. So I learned a lot of basics. I learned how to teach the basics, and then obviously the more advanced stuff came after that. And then thinking to myself, okay, well, if I'm gonna, you know, sort of fulfill that dream to fly with the Snowbirds, this is the time to do it. So I did a tryout, and here I am.
Right on. Let's have a look here. So scrolling down here, the next question that came in from Flight Corporal Hersey, and it says, what does a day in the life of a Snowbird look like?
It's a good question. So if we have an air show that we're flying, we wake up just like a normal day, and then everything is centered around that show. So before our smoke on time, as we call it, we'll have to do a brief. So the brief is usually about an hour to an hour and a half before our smoke on time. So that's when we have to be in. So we'll get ourselves ready. We'll do any exercise or anything we need to do ahead of time. Go to that brief the show, and then we fly it. When we're done that show, we need to debrief. Usually there's some sort of interview or autograph signing that we do. With COVID, not that much. We've been doing it a little bit down here, but after the show, sign some autographs, then go do our debrief, which collectively could be anywhere from an hour and a half to an hour once we've landed. And then after that, usually there's some kind of function or some sort of get together at night, just with the air show organizers and the other performers, and go do that and try to be as social as possible during COVID. And then it's just a repeat the next day after that. Between shows, it's usually just a lot of traveling, getting from point A to point B, going to the next show, getting familiar with the site, and then we just do it all over again.
Right on. Okay, so let's have a look here. So I think one of the corporals is asking if you need a corporal for the Snowbirds.
Oh, nice.
Little young yet, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. We do though. We have a ton of technicians and a whole squadron full of people that make things work. You know, we fly our 9 jets around, but behind those jets are 100 other people making it happen. So someday, you never know, there's jobs for everyone.
That's right. Next question that I see in here, it's from John. It says, how many G's can you handle?
So the jet itself can handle just over 7G. That's positive G. Now, oh, there's a nice picture. It's just over 7G. For us, we can handle that. There's methods and techniques that we use to combat G forces. But anytime during the show, we're probably only dealing with 3 to 4G, and that's not sustained. It only really happens, let's say if we're doing a loop, for example, really only happens on the front end or the back end of those loops.
Gotcha. All right, let's have a look here. What else we got? Let's have a look here. Oskadet Denauden, our bando, has a question. He says, did you have to go through a qualifications program to be at the Royal Military College?
So the Royal Military College, to get in there, if you back it up, what you're doing initially is you're applying to be a military member. Now, to go to RMC, you come out as an officer with your commission. So to get in there, you apply for an officer under the regular officer training plan, which means that you don't have a degree, you're going to go to school in a 4 years time, you graduate with a degree. Now, there is a selection process that are done by the recruiting centers for that, but it's no real difference than applying for a regular university with the addition of medicals and all the other normal procedures that you would do for applying to the military.
Okay, right on. Let's have a look here. Flight Sergeant Mohammed asks, how hard was the training and how long did it take?
Is he talking about for the Snowbirds?
I'm going to say, yeah, it's very, I'm assuming that's what he's referring to.
No, that's fair. So initially we have to do a 2 to 3 week tryout, and what that entails is flying the tutor in some formation maneuvers that are generally basic, but you're doing it using the Snowbirds way of doing business, and you're flying an aircraft that you're unfamiliar with. You've studied it, but you've never actually flown it before. So that is a fairly nerve-wracking experience. However, once that's done, you go back to the squadron at a later time to actually train up to be a show pilot, or a single digit as we call it. And that training lasts from, in my case anyways, I got to the squadron end of September 2020, and you'll train throughout the whole winter up until, starting in this case anyways, for this past year, start of May. And then for May we go to Comox, and for almost a month we flew our show, practiced our full show to get prepared for the following season. So I'd say in total, from end of September all the way to the end of May, to go from nothing to being a member on the team being able to fly a complete show.
Right on, right on. Let's have a look here. What else we got here? Next one was from Sergeant Sharp. He goes, "How long have you been a pilot?"
I've been a pilot since I was 16. That's when I got my glider license in cadets. And I'm 32 right now.
Wow, there you go. 16 years. Holy jumping. All right, let's have a look here. Next one down. Cadet Yumbi says, "Is there something you would like to fly?"
That's a good question. So just before I started flight training in the military, I was lucky enough to do my float rating on a Beaver, and that thing is amazing. There's a lot of Canadian history behind that aircraft, and only did 10 hours on it, and I would love to do some more if the opportunity ever presented itself.
Right on. And here I was thinking you picked some kind of modern technology. You stuck with the good old Beaver. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Let's have a look here. So again, Officer Cadet Denowden says, "How do you manage with work, life, and balance, being away from home for long periods of time?"
That's a really good question. The work-life balance combination is always it's an ongoing challenge, not only with this job, but really any job. And it's something that I wouldn't say I struggle to try to achieve, but it's something that it's always on my radar that, hey, I need to keep things equal, essentially. The team and our schedule allows for some downtime, but there is a lot of work. However, when we are on the road, our work is very rewarding. So sometimes you don't realize that, hey, what I'm doing is actually work. For example, being in Toronto and flying past the CN Tower, setting up for another maneuver, you don't think about like, oh man, I wish I wasn't at work, So this job is definitely a special one where the work-life balance could be a little bit heavier on the work side without actually feeling like you're out of sync with what you want to be doing at home.
Right on. Good. Let's have a look here. Keep going down here. Da-da-da. Next one was from Captain Yates Female, Omar Supplio. How long will the Snowbirds fly the Tudor?
I think we're scheduled up until 2030 right now. And before that date hits, there's going to need to be some basically like selection processes being done for that next aircraft. But I believe not only are they trying to replace the Tudor in that time frame, but our current flight training fleet of Harvards and Hawks, those are nearing the end of their life anyways. So whatever we are potentially getting for a Snowbird aircraft will most likely be what is being purchased for a trainer, military trainer.
Okay, alrighty. I didn't realize the Hawks were getting up there in age that old. I mean, because what does that make the Tudor now? Because that's a what, 1950s technology, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I know that my jet says on the placard and serial number on the side says 1965 is when it was manufactured.
Wow. So yeah, by the time it retires, it's going to be up there.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
wow. All right, let's have a look here. Let's scroll down here. Cadet Schertzer says, "Why did you want to join the Snowbirds?"
Flying in general for me has always been at first a very exciting hobby, but then doing it as a job, it's an extremely rewarding job. And joining the Snowbirds is just that next step in flying a very rewarding job. But on top of that, I feel like I've done enough, and as a young person being in cadets and in the military, I've done enough that I can start to give back to those young people that might watch the Snowbirds and say, wow, that's a really cool job. I'd like to do that someday. How do I do it? So where at first I thought, oh, wow, this is a great flying job, it's becoming more about that, like giving back and inspiring people is really what we're there to do.
Right on. Let's have a look here. So, okay, next question is from just initials KH. If there happens to be pilots who are under the weather, how many backup pilots do you have to fill in?
So the quick answer is 0. So if anybody from 1 to 9 is sick under the weather, that person is not flying. So we'll be -1 plane for the formation. If the boss is sick, then none of us are flying because nobody else is going to lead. However, there are other pilots at the squadron that work in other capacities, but they're not up to speed with what we do in our show. So getting somebody last minute is quite the challenge. So if you ever see a formation flying around with one less plane, it's probably because somebody is sick or just under the weather. We have backup planes that we travel with. So if it's a maintenance issue on one aircraft, we can usually replace it. But if there's a plane missing, it's probably because of the person.
Right. Okay. Let's have a look here. I laughed at this one, but it's like Corporal Leal says, "Who's better, the Snowbirds or the Blue Angels?" I'm going, this is a no-brainer.
So obviously I'm partial to us, so that doesn't really count as an answer. However, I will say at our last show site that we were at in Sacramento and we were doing autographs, the amount of people that came up and said to us that we really love your show, we prefer it over the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds. It was surprising how many people said that. Yeah.
I can imagine where the Americans would be just soaked with the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds all the time, that you're actually a nice fresh face on the scene of an air show circuit.
Yeah, it's something different. Our planes obviously aren't as fast or loud, but we have 9 of them that we fly quite a bit all together in formation. When the other guys do their the Blue Angels and Thunderbirds, when they do their shows, they are split up for the most part. They have their 1 through 4 pilots that fly around in different formations, and then 2 solos that do different crosses and maneuvers, and then they really only join up together at the end. But for us, there's a lot more variety, and we'll fly in our bigger formations a lot more, I find.
Right on. Okay, so let's have a look here. Just I think it scrolled past where I wanted to be. Okay, so Captain Larrabee, our admino, says that it stopped moving on me. What do you do to ground yourself, to refocus on you after working hard and flying fast? Any hobbies or personal interests?
Yeah, so on the road, I would say just keep myself grounded and refocus. Just going to the gym and exercising is a huge factor. And then like for recreational activities, I like sporting events. So any football, baseball, hockey games that are going on in the area, usually try to attend those. And then between our swings, as we call them, so going from one series of air shows to the next, we do have some time in between those where we go home for maybe a week or so at a time. Allows our technicians to do any maintenance on the planes. And when I am back at home, usually try to be outside a fair bit. In the summertime, I'll try to go fishing as much as possible. And in this time of the year in Saskatchewan is the hunting season, so I try to get outside and hunt a fair bit. That's what I grew up doing. It's what I love doing. So I try to do that as much as possible when I'm at home. Doing that kind of thing is little bit more difficult when you're on the road. So I always look forward to doing that when I'm back. And like we were talking about that work and life balance before, having any sort of hobby is extremely important, just to say, hey, I'm gonna dial it back for a little bit and just relax. Then it makes you more excited and refocused to get back to your job.
Right on. Let's have a look here. Next one down here. Flight Corporal Hersey says again, what would you like to do after the Snowbirds?
Really good question. Our Air Force has Twin Otters stationed in Yellowknife, and I think that would be a pretty cool job to go up there and live in a little bit of isolation and fly those things up north. I think that'd be definitely a change of pace from what I've been doing since I joined the Air Force, essentially.
Right on. What else we got here? Captain Yates asks, of all the aircraft that you have flown, which one did you enjoy the most?
If we were gonna go for military aircraft, it'd be the Tudor for sure. It's a ton of fun. It's easy to fly. The jet makes it very, very smooth. And yeah, it's amazing to fly. If you're talking about civilian flying, then definitely the Beaver for sure. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's have a look here. Flight Corporal Hersey chipped in. She goes, have you ever flown an F-18?
I got a ride in an F-18 once, and that was a ton of fun. That was probably a month or two ago, but yeah, that was a good time.
Oh wow. Let's have a look here and then keep typing in here. Cadet Schertzer says, well, basically the same thing. What's your dream plane to fly?
If I could own a Beaver on floats, that'd be amazing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, yeah, it's a pretty cool machine.
Yeah, right on. Let's have a look here. Flight Corporal Gortzak asks, is there an optimal height for a Tudor pilot? I guess a pilot in general.
So I'll speak to a Tudor pilot or a Snowbird pilot to be more precise, but when you're flying in formation like we do in aircraft that are, I don't want to say underpowered, but when you compare them to the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels flying fighter jets with afterburners and very large engines, they have essentially unlimited power. So if they're a little bit too far away from the lead aircraft, they can just power up and get back in there. When we're doing all of our flying and doing our loops and whatnot, it's very tricky to stay in position because we're power limited, as we call it. Our engines don't have that power to, hey, I'm out of position, I'm just going to get right back in there. So to counteract that, flying at a lower level like we do really helps things out a lot, giving our engine more performance. As I'm sure everybody's learned in ground school, when you talk about density, altitude, it's basically how dense that air is. And even jet engines, all airplane engines, but especially jet engines, they like that dense air. That's when they can make their most power. So on a day with a low density altitude or flying close to sea level like we are here in California, that's where the Tudor likes to be, especially in formation flying.
Right on. Captain Yates said that my first flight was in a Beaver, and that's what made me want to become a pilot. So obviously the thing about Beavers. So I've only ever seen one once, and that was an Army cooperation one in England. It was by the Army Air Corps. So it had wheels, no floats. So that was the only time I'd ever actually seen one. So, but they certainly have that effect on you with the sound and the way they look. They're certainly a nice aircraft, for sure. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Officer Cadet Short, our training officer, says, how did COVID-19 affect you and the Snowbirds? What happened during lockdown? Did you have to do different training when you started flying again?
Initially, when everything was locked down, now I wasn't on the squadron at the time. I only joined in, like I said, just this past September and October, so in 2020. And I remember because I was working on the same base that the Snowbirds are based when the first lockdown happened, and the squadron shut down initially, and then after that they went out and did op inspiration, and then never really shut down because of COVID after that. And I know since I've been there, we've been going to work ever since. There hasn't been any like lockdowns or any time where we've stopped working.
Right.
But through it all, we've all been trying to practice as best as possible, staying safe and healthy throughout it all, and it's gone good. It's gone quite well so far.
Good, good. Let's have a look here. What else we got? Captain Larrabee from our Abino. Do you have a favorite flying movie or a song that really gets you in the mood to fly?
That is a good question. I would say overall, I don't have anything specific. However, before we go flying, before we fly a show, when we're at an air show where we're flying out of the same base where the show is at, just that atmosphere of being at an air show, watching some of the performers before us, hearing the announcing, hearing the cheers from everybody else, that sort of gets you pumped up and motivated to go and do the show. Just sort of feeding off that energy in the atmosphere is something else. It's very good.
Right on. Sergeant Sharp threw in, what is the most expensive plane you've ever been in?
That's a good question. Been in or flown?
He's got
Because
been,
obviously,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I say he's got been in, but we'll take flown.
I'd say the Hawk was probably the most expensive one. I'd say just probably because it was the biggest one. But yeah.
Right. Let me see here. It's Flight Sergeant Muhammad said, what was your most embarrassing moment?
My most embarrassing moment. Well, when we were in Comox, I managed to hit a bird, and I don't know if it was an eagle as well too, and I don't know if I hit it or if it tried to attack me, because I've heard that if they see other birds or I guess objects in the sky in their territory, they'll swoop down and try to attack the other thing, I guess. And I remember flying and sort of looking out, it's like, oh yeah, there's a bird over there, but I'll miss it. And then I swear the thing just sort of swooped down on me and hit my wing. I'm like, oh man, I better land. So I came back and at a pretty dented wing, and our techs, as they always do, did an amazing job repairing it. But I had to fly one of our spare jets for a few days. So kind of embarrassing. Haven't hit anything, any birds since after that. So that's always good.
Always a good thing.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, here we go. Let's have a look here. Was it? Oh, the question I had is, how does the technology between the Tudor and, like, say, the Hawk, the more up to date Hawk, how do they compare? Are they still fairly similar, or is it? Because you're dealing with 1950s technology compared to, say, 1990s or 2000s technology. How do they compare?
The best way I describe it is, obviously when you're like, the Tudor's a very small aircraft, and when you're getting into bigger stuff like the Hawk or any other larger planes, you start dealing with more complex systems, like hydraulically powered controls, that type of thing. So the Tudor's very basic. It's all mechanically driven controls, but probably where you see the biggest difference is the instrumentation in the cockpit. So all of our avionics are all fairly original. The only thing that we have that's different is actually a quite modern quite modern GPS that allows us to navigate and fly approaches, IFR approaches that are all GPS based. And a lot of other military aircraft, the Hawk, for example, don't have that capability. So there's interesting contrast, but I would say our tutor has a very, I guess, like wide age range of instrumentation, from basically original 1950s stuff, something you'd find in a Cessna, and then quite modern GPS stuff.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look here. KH asks, how did you apply for the role? Where are the pilot roles posted? There we go.
Where are the what posted? The pilot?
Sorry, the question seems very choppy. Is how do you apply for the role? And it says, where are the pilot roles posted?
Okay, so every year the squadron puts out a basically a memo requesting applicants to apply for the Snowbirds. Once you see that, you can write up basically another memo saying, I'd like to apply. That gets passed through your chain of command, and then eventually gets forwarded to the squadron, and they take a look at you and say, okay, this is or this could potentially be a good candidate, and then you're invited for a tryout after that.
Oh, okay, right on. Let's have a look here. One other question: how long is a tour as a Snowbird pilot? Is it like indefinite, or is there like a set, like a finite time?
Yeah, initially, or I should say in the past, it was really only a 2 to 3 year gig, but now they are trying to extend it to maybe a 3 to 5 year commitment, and that is just to keep the experience on the squadron, because you fly shows for 2 years and then leave or go back to work at the squadron for a third year, then all that experience and that knowledge that you've gained is lost pretty quick. So by extending it, it kind of keeps that knowledge in-house, and sort of cuts down on training time as well too. Moving forward. If it's all right with you guys, I'd say we could do one more question.
Okay, that's cool. I say you're mercy there. So whenever you need to go, we got to go. The last question we had on here: what was the oldest plane you've been in?
I'd say probably the. Actually, I'm trying to think. I don't think it was the Beaver. I flew a Fleet Canuck near Barrie one time when I was in college at RMC. I would drive up there on the weekends, and I was trying to build tail dragger time to do my my tow plane stuff for air cadets in the summer. And I flew this Fleet Canuck. I'm pretty sure it was late 40s that that it was. So it's a pretty old plane, a little bit older than ours for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, Captain Powis Clement, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and your busy day to come and talk to the cadets at 27 Air Cadet Squadron tonight. We appreciate everything you're doing, and we wish that you stay safe and happy trails out there, and hopefully you can get home soon to relax.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy to see that everybody, all the large numbers here, came out to ask questions. And I hope that we can come to London next year and you guys can see us again.
Yeah. One thing there, if you want, could we get everyone to turn on the cameras and give a round of applause? So there you go. So if everyone wants to turn their cameras on,
Yay.
that would be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Very inspiring.
Yes, that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really fun listening. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, see you guys.
See you guys. So let's have a look here. I guess we can go like this and do this. There we go. There we go. I'll stop recording.